All right, outnumbered to overtime, OT baby. Steve Hilton is joining us, as well as EMAC is here. It's good to have you as well. We just finished up the live version of our show talking about Steve Hilton's new show on the Fox News channel.
The Next Revolution.
The Next Revolution.
I love that.
Great title.
I feel that, I think when we first started talking about it and someone suggested that, I thought that feels so great.
Love
we didn't
it.
have any discussion. I felt that's it. That feels like what I want to be talking about.
That is so exciting. We can't wait for that. So that will be debuting at some point in time. We don't have an exact date yet, correct?
Yeah, soon, you know, not too far away.
But EMAC, you were joking near the end of the hour about our social media presence, and many of those are logging on to our outnumbered overtime because we have a very loyal following there as well. What is it that you saw on your social? Did they like the show?
Yes, they did like the show. They were pushing back on me saying that the GOP needs to, which is fine, absolutely. I think the viewers are extremely smart about that the GOP has to stand up and say we are for the poor. And one person tweeted saying the best thing for the poor is to get them a job. I totally agree with that. It's a great point. I just think that, you know, the big bad, you know, monopoly fat cat image of the GOP is wrong. And, you know, if they just say, of course we're about the poor, we've been taking care of the poor, and, you know, we subsidize a lot of welfare for the poor, and we're going to continue to do that. I mean, I'm telling you, the tax system in this country, Karl Marx would drool over it. It's one of the most progressive in the world.
I think you're right on the money with that, though. I mean, I've had this conversation many times before where Democrats just emote in a way to people that Republicans don't. I feel your pain.
Yeah, they're better at political theater.
They're better at political theater than we are. And I think the implication
they are so obnoxiously wrong about the economic condition of this country and the tax system. Just one quick point. When the dirty open secret in Washington, D.C., whenever Bernie Sanders goes on about tax cuts for the rich, by the way, he's a guy who owns 3 homes and he pays an effective rate lower than Donald Trump, is that the upper bracket pays the most taxes. Yeah. The 80% of the tax revenue comes from the top 20.
But I think that the other great point there is about jobs, and I think what I really made the point in the show, in the live show, about how the kind of the process in Congress is sort of everything's getting bogged down in that. And one of the consequences of that is that we're not seeing the tax reform that I think we need to start getting people the jobs and the income rises that they need. The corporate tax reform, the lower rate to get the money back that all these companies have got stashed overseas, the infrastructure, I think in the end, the reason that that so many people thought, you know, we really need a change and we're going to put our faith in President Trump is to shake things up. Yeah. And in the economy, that is needed desperately by a huge proportion of American families. And I think that I'm just wondering when we're ever going to get to it.
Listen, I come from an old New York family. Reagan Democrat was my mother. Yes.
Good Irish family like me.
Irish Catholic, and, you know, JFK Democrats. And I'll tell you, and doing journalism for 30 years, I am always astonished at stories like what happened with Rachel Maddow last night. I think the mainstream media has failed the American people. I think their focus has been wrong. They have been so standing in the same corner, talking to each other, in the same amen corner, finger wagging the rest of the world, and they've missed the entire story about the poor losing jobs in middle
and
America,
this is the point. It's like half of American families are earning less today than 17 years ago. That's the official data. And the thing is that the people that you're talking about, their lives are great. They're in a bubble. They're wealthy. The schools that their kids go to are great. Their neighborhoods are lovely. You know, their lives are fine. And so they can afford to indulge all this conspiracy theory stuff while people need real help. They're struggling.
What's bizarre to me, and I haven't watched MSNBC in a very long, years easily. I don't like it. It makes me anxious. I don't find any of the personalities particularly compelling. And when watching it last night, the arrogance of all of the personalities that were going on screen in 2008 and 2012, when Republicans lost, I did so much self-reflection about where we needed to go,
none of that.
What went wrong, what we could do to reach out to a bigger audience. And Donald Trump, by the way, did everything I wanted the Republican Party to do to expand to a larger base. He did it in a way that was more unorthodox than I would have anticipated, but he certainly did it. But just sitting there doubling down on, we've done nothing wrong, our way of life, our perspective, this is what America needs. You've been conned by the Russians.
We only lost because of, you know, the Russians or Comey or whatever, nothing to do with anything anything. The fact that we didn't have a message or an agenda or policies that would actually solve the problems that people are facing.
It's this finger waggy teachers faculty lounge kind of attitude where these Miss Jane Hathaways think that they should go on camera and tell us and teach us and inform us. But the thing is, we just had somebody on saying we should go back to the Eisenhower tax rates of 60%, 70%, without saying that every other year in the 50s there was a recession and that JFK inherited a horrible recession. And one of the first things John F. Kennedy said was the best form of welfare is a job.
All right, so let me get a few viewer comments in on Facebook Live right now. You can also send notes on OT overtime as well. Facebook Live, let's see. Jean Gilmore Lundwall says, hello from Selden, Long Island, New York. I love your show. Excited for Steve and his new show. So thank you for that. Steve Adkins, great show as always. Thank you, Steve. Here's one. Jonathan Vitale says, I think all of Outnumbered should go casual one day.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Love it.
I would love that.
Okay.
I would.
All right. And so if you can hear us on overtime, which some people are saying they can hear, they can't see, jump onto Facebook Live. You can see us there. So we're having a little bit of a technical problem on the OT.
I'd love to go casual.
On the website page, we're being told. A lot of people talking about the MSNBC moment last night.
Yeah. By the way, I know we talked about MSNBC, but let's not let CNN off the hook. I mean, they are obsessed with Russia too. They had a show the other night.
You got to give it, though, they wouldn't. I don't think they would have done this.
Well,
hyping it up for literally nothing.
They criticized.
I think
CNN did.
And listen, I think CNN. I agree with you that they're obsessed with Trump in a way that I don't think is healthy at all, and they're totally trying to make a tempest out of a teapot when it comes to all things Russia related.
Yes.
But MSNBC took it to a level that will be remembered, I think, journalistically and historically for a long time.
I think that's right. I think that it will be one of those things that people talk about for years. I think that's right. But just on CNN, I was really upset by a show that they put out. I think it was this week. I saw the trailer for it last week. I didn't see the show, but where it was about Putin, and they called the show "The Most Powerful Man in the World," and it was all based around the fact that did he get President Trump elected, etc. They are literally doing Putin's job for him by bigging him up and creating a show called
Don't they know that Russia's in a serious recession, that its economy is going down, its GDP is trending? I want to say I toured a small European country, and so there's that lack of perspective. I understand that, Putin, he stomps into Ukraine, goes into Crimea, seizes and poisons, seizes land and poisons people. But it's disputable whether he's the most powerful person.
I agree with that.
And I'm wondering, too, getting back to Rachel Maddow, if Saturday Night Live is going to spoof or satirize.
That's interesting.
This weekend. They better make fun of her over the weekend or on Saturday. I will say one thing that exhausts me about Russia and Putin is that you can watch clips of me 5 years ago, 8 years ago. I have cared about Putin and Russia for an extremely long time. The biggest disappointment and my most visceral reaction to President Obama when he ran in 2012 was him making fun of Mitt Romney for the 1980s foreign policy. To this day, I think it's one of the worst things he's ever done, hands down. So what's exhausting for me is if you actually care about the fact that Putin is funding bombing of hospitals in Aleppo, if you actually care about things going on foreign policy-wise, the left have taken this to, I will say, the Loch Ness Monster again. I still don't believe in it. I'm so sorry for everyone. But to a point where it's so in the woods.
Breaking news.
That valid criticism and arguments have completely gone out the window.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at, who's been, cozying up to Putin and actually enabling him to, it's not true. It's Obama. He's the one that did nothing when he walks into Crimea and Ukraine. He's the one that basically abandoned any leadership in Syria with the Syria situation and said, okay, you deal with it.
I mean, we're not fatally naive. We're not fatally naive. Yes, Putin is powerful.
But Bush was just as bad. I mean, this is a long history. Listen, foreign policy hawks like me are pretty much the only, and I take this cred all day long, because President Bush said, I looked into Putin's eyes and I saw a soul. And I remember saying, I see a KG and a B. That's what I see when I look into Putin's eyes. And again, it's this long history of normalizing Putin. And right now, what we have done to it is, there's no real explanation.
So let's take a vote. Do you think Saturday Night Live spoofs or satirizes Rachel Maddow?
Great question.
What do you think?
No.
I say no.
I think they will not.
Three no's. You say yes?
I'll go with yes just to be the devil's advocate.
To be different. Very nice to have you back, sir. Thank you. And thank you for making the trek here. I know you have a lot going on, and I think we'll wrap it up
great
with that. Thank you for joining us. We'll get OT Baby back up and running for tomorrow. All right, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.